What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of NESN Around, NESN's podcast that's about nothing and also about everything at the same damn time. I think that's what we're going with.
I like that
little tagline. Yeah. It's in the beta stage, but
it's sticking.
I think we're finding that stride. I'm going to quarterback the offense today. I'm Ricky Doyle, joined here as always by Mike Cole. Mike, a little under the weather today, but you're pushing through. We got your MJ flu game. Yeah. I saw you were going over the symptoms over there, see if you have a little mononucleosis. Hopefully you don't, because we're in close proximity here, and that would be bad news for really everybody.
In advance if I do have mono.
Yeah, that could be bad for everyone on here at 4080 Arsenal Street.
I didn't start it, though. I'm not going to say who did, but I didn't start.
This is true. So hopefully you managed to get through. But we'll press on. We'll take a look back. We'll start off by looking back at predictions we made last week. Then later in the show, I'll make some other ridiculous predictions. I haven't really come up with a name for that yet.
No, it's
weird, wild predictions. Whatever. Anything that kind of pops into my head. We got some other things. It was a pretty interesting week, I would say, especially around here, locally. So we'll get into a few of those things. You want to get into so we'll look back on the predictions. What was yours again? I don't even remember.
Mine was that a Celtic would get suspended at some point before this week, which...
Yeah, this was the one. You had this 2 weeks ago, and it kind of carried over because...
No, I had this last week.
What was your... I thought you had it 2 weeks ago, and then you spilled it over.
No, 2 weeks I had Malcolm Butler. The week before that, I had number 1 seed. That spilled over. We're already like 3 more weeks down the line now.
Yeah.
Where I said last week, I said somebody on the Celtics would get suspended before we filmed this week. And that ended up being, 4 games? Because they finished up the Bulls series. Or maybe it was 3. And then I kind of had a feeling they would play Washington, and they have. And there's not a whole lot of love lost there. As we film this, nobody on the Celtics has got suspended. I don't think anybody on the Celtics will be suspended, but it looks like somebody on Washington will. So I'm going to give myself half credit for that.
No, I think you deserve, I'd say even more than half.
Thanks.
I would at least give you a passing grade. You're in the 60s or maybe the 70 range. C- maybe. But no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's probably, I would anticipate probably some more extracurriculars in the series too. A lot more opportunities for you to make good on that prediction. I said mine. I dug into the boxing realm and said that Anthony Joshua was going to knock out Vladimir Klitschko, and he did. 11th round TKO. What's being regarded as one of the best heavyweight fights ever. Certainly of the past 20 or so years. Kind of in like the dead ball era for heavyweight boxing, but. This Joshua kid, 19-0, 19 knockouts. He's got a little appeal to him. I don't know what's next. Maybe a rematch. Klitschko's like 41. He held his own on there. So, prediction was right. And,
good job.
Good match. So, we find blind squirrel finds a nut every now and then, Mike. But we won't waste too much time on that. We're going to give predictions later in the show, as I mentioned. Sometimes we don't even know what those are at the beginning of the show and just kind of develop and stumble our way into it, which could be the case again this week. All right. So, as I mentioned, a lot of crap going on around here with regards to a couple of teams in the New England region. We already discussed the Celtics-Wizards and how they've been pretty chippy so far, but also the Red Sox and the Orioles mixing it up at the old ball yard is quite the rivalry we got brewing here in 2017. The Orioles kind of becoming their arch nemesis a little bit here.
Right.
There's varying ways we could look at this. I guess. First of all, what's your initial thoughts on this whole thing, this whole fiasco that it's become? Because it seems like they played 4 games, but it felt like the longest 4-game series in the history of regular season baseball.
It felt it felt almost like a hockey series, like a playoff hockey series, where like a 7-game battle, back and forth. It was pretty. It was like a dominoes, game over game, like things spilling into the next. I enjoyed it. I'm not at the point of saturation with this. Like, I find this stuff interesting. It's a 162-game season. That's a long time. Like, you need these kind of events or whatever you want to call them to kind of pique your interest at a time when maybe it's not the most exciting. I think, the middle of April into May is kind of that time. So, I don't have a problem with it. Like, boys will be boys. Like, I think it's crazy that we expect, like, grown men who make millions of dollars playing baseball to act like you and me. Like I think we have to kind of hold them to a different standard. Like it's fake life. Like Major League Baseball is fake life. So they settle things by throwing baseballs at each other. That just is what it is. Like, it doesn't really fit with, our society, but, or maybe it does, I don't know. But it just, like I said, it is what it is. I enjoy it every once in a while. I think it added to it. I think, you kind of got the circle the calendar for the next time these two teams play.
Yeah, I like it from this is a series that, I mean, you or I would have watched the series anyways, being the, baseball fans that we are. I just, nightly television really revolves around, the Red Sox schedule. But I know that that's not necessarily the case for the majority of people, and where baseball is trying to, draw in a younger audience and things like this. I was sitting there watching it this week, and I had like the sense that beyond just watching it because it was baseball, you had like a fear of like missing out on something.
Yeah, that too.
Like, if I turn this off, there's a good chance that there's all of a sudden going to be some fireworks. So I had a little FOMO. I think that's what baseball needs, some more FOMO.
Yeah, I went to the Celtics game on Tuesday at the Garden, and we were sitting there in the bar before the game. It's like, I don't know if I want to, obviously we're going to go over to watch the start of the game, but part of you is like, I really don't want to miss out on anything in this game. Which is pretty impressive for, like I said, a relatively meaningless regular season baseball game.
Obviously, Manny Machado has been at the heart of this whole thing. Spiking Pedroia, and then the Red Sox coming back and throwing up near his head, which you can question whether that's the right way to go about things. I mean, it's just a lot of just bending of unwritten rules and things like that. That's when you start to get into the real baseball minutia of it all, like what's accepted and what's not accepted. That's the part that could be like very you just start spinning your wheels a little bit. You start going in circles. But I think Machado's a pretty fascinating dude, because as we've seen, not only can he get under your skin a little bit, but hell of a series. Yeah. And you brought this up when we were just sitting around the office yesterday, that it's pretty interesting when you have a guy who's one of the best players in baseball, has the potential to be one of the greats, I mean, based on what he's done to this point in his career, and he also could be one of the most hateable guys. I mean, it seems like it was one of those situations where you thought he was cleaning up his act a little bit, and then this whole thing with the Red Sox started pissing more people off. So I guess my question is having somebody like that good for the game? Like, is having a Manny Machado as like the face of baseball, because that's always like the conversation, however dumb it may be, that people want to have, who's the face of baseball, is having someone like him as a face of baseball, is that good for the game?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I think ironically, it's a sport that, unlike football, their faces aren't covered, but it is largely a faceless game where it's like, and that really speaks more to the popularity of the sport itself than the players. Like, if people actually watch baseball, they would figure out who these guys are. But like, I think it's good to have, even if it's a bad guy,
a villain,
somebody who can,
a heel,
who registers, on the regular sports fans' radar.
Yeah,
like, I think that's good. I think hockey's kind of a similar way, where it's like these guys are all kind of just uniform, and nobody really stands out, even the best players. And I think the guys who do stand out in hockey and in baseball more often than not are the jerks, for lack of a better term. Like Bryce Harper, kind of the same way, although he has kind of cooled it over the years. And like the fact that no matter what, if he's involved in something, Machado's involved in something, you're watching, because he might go just berserk and charge them down. He's already mentioned bringing a bat with him, which I don't think he would do, but you never know. Or he's going to hit the ball 470 feet. So there's always something to kind of have your eye on when it comes to him. It's, again, you talk about FOMO, it's like appointment television. When Manny Machado is in town or Manny Machado is playing a national game, he's a guy you're looking for to watch. So I think that's a good thing, largely.
Yeah, I agree. I think we really started to realize it was when A-Rod stepped away from the game, was that because he was kind of that common villain, I guess, amongst most fan bases, or baseball fans in general, outside of New York or wherever it was he was playing at the time. Like, if you go back to his Texas days, Seattle days, but there was kind of that void left. Like, all right, who would be kind of the jerk of baseball?
Right.
I don't know if Machado is that guy just yet, but he's done some things that make you scratch your head, that has other fan bases saying like, all right, I don't like this guy. And as you mentioned, there's that element of, all right, I'm gonna check this out.
Right.
It's like a love to hate him kind of deal. And I just think, I think you need that. Maybe in baseball for more than other sports for the reasons that you mentioned. So yeah, I think it's a good thing to have. But another fascinating element of this whole thing, and I kind of want to tie this into the Celtics-Wizards, what they got going on too, is like the whole back and forth with this of like Machado going on this expletive-laden rant, and just the whole back and forth of like presenting yourself as a tough guy, like coming off as like is trying to create this image that you're gonna go out there and whoop ass, like the baseball bat thing that you mentioned. It got me wondering a little bit of sports that have like, some fake tough guys. Like which sport is, because we're seeing that in the Celtics-Wizards series too, where it's just a lot of flapping your gums back and forth, and it's like, this is just kind of, I know it's just playing the game a little bit of like getting under someone's skin, but how much of this is just kind of puffing your chest out, false bravado, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it.
Well, like the weird thing is too is like there's a lot of, like, I think, in Game 3 of the Celtics Wizards, like, there was a lot of chippiness both ways. And, all you read after the game from the Wizards is like, that's their game. We don't want to. So it's like, not only are they, purporting themselves to be tough, they're like hiding from it when they, when they're asked about it. Whether it's just weird. Like, they don't want to, it's almost like they don't even want to be recognized as tough guys. But they kind of play like it and act like it. That team, especially, not to get off on a tangent, that is a front-running team. Like, they feel really good about themselves when they build that lead. And I think you kind of saw that. They got a little tougher as the lead got bigger on Thursday night. But
Brandon Jennings is
that's the guy who kind of sticks out. But
insufferable.
Yeah, definitely. In terms of like the sport, the worst fake tough guys, I think it's either baseball or basketball. I kind of struggle to pick between the two. Like hockey, they have fist fights. Like, that's pretty legit. Like, I mean, I know there's something to be said for like hockey hardos and things like that, but they fight each other. Football players tackle each other, so there's that physical aspect of that game. For me, I think I'm probably going to lean. This is tough.
It's tough too because I mean, we are making like a huge generalization. So it's not like trying to lump everybody into one group. Obviously, there are basketball players that would kick the crap out of a certain hockey player. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously case by case, but
they'd all whoop our ass.
I'm talking, of course, but. So I'm talking like fake to real ratio, I guess.
I think
the percentage of phonies versus the percentage of real deal Holyfields.
Not to get like too socioeconomic, but I'd go baseball then because I think a lot of those, at least American-born players, kind of grew up in a privileged lifestyle where they like there are basketball players who literally and figuratively had to fight to get their way, and I think that kind of does come out sometimes, and that's I think one of the sports at its best when you have these guys being genuine and real and true to themselves. It doesn't always manifest itself in like the prettiest way, at least in terms of fighting, which is probably a better thing. Like, we probably don't need fist fights on the basketball court, but I think that those guys generally are just tougher than baseball players. So, and there's also something to be said for like one of the big things about being a baseball tough guy is throwing something at somebody. Like, that's not necessarily like the most chivalrous, act of violence. Like, you're doing it from 60 feet away, and before that guy gets to you, more often than not, there's going to be people in front of you. A lot of standing around with hold-me-backs in baseball as opposed to basketball, which maybe there's a little recency bias because we actually saw the closest thing we've seen to a fight in a while, but still, I think basketball's a little tougher than baseball.
I was going to say, it is kind of apples to oranges because of how you can go about retaliating or whatever. Like you said, if you gun a 95-mile-an-hour fastball between somebody's ankles, that's going to get you dancing out of the way a little bit. But I can't help but be just, there are certain like altercations in basketball that drive me absolutely berserk because, and I think it's just kind of the dichotomy of like, the perception that somebody's trying to give off and then what actually happens. Like somebody could block a shot into the 25th row, get in somebody's face, have this whole tough guy antic down, and then on the very next possession, go down, look to draw a foul, have their fingertip grazed, and then bitch, moan, cry, whatever else the official about how,
there's a little bit of soccer
it's
to
like,
it.
It's like the whole flopping dynamic. And I understand that's part of the game.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's
not going away either.
Yeah, I don't think that's, necessarily what James Naismith had in mind when he was creating the game in, 1890, whatever the hell it was. But
Springfield guy.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's still, I mean, it's just the optics of it I hate. You just inherently kind of, it's a shot to your tough guy credibility when you're, running up the court like Kevin Love.
Right, yeah.
Like this when you get your arm pulled out of your socket.
Or like Bradley Beal on Thursday night, getting screened in the backcourt and literally diving like a torpedo. So,
and even like the Kelly Oubre thing where you mentioned like it was the closest I guess we've seen to a fight in basketball.
I was shocked when it happened.
Yeah, but even like if I was looking at it earlier, and there's an element, and this is just me probably being a skeptical jerk, but I felt like there was an element of him that wanted to like give off the tough guy, like shove him to the ground, but also he knew the ref was right here, and I had like the other side of his body giving like to hold me back a little bit.
Right in front of his bench.
Yeah, so I don't know. There was something there that I don't think he was all in on looking for a fight. Yeah, he could have went over and dropped him.
Yeah.
You could have threw a haymaker. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just seemed a little, I don't know, not authentic to me.
No, I agree.
Both. I don't know what else is driving me nuts. This is all under the hate debate umbrella that we've got going on. Is I thought the officials handled it well in the Celtics-Wizards game 3 for the most part.
They handled it
late in the game
well.
when it became a blowout. I thought they handled it pretty well with the Jennings and Rozier and how they handled that thing. On the flip side, Sam Holbrook in the Red Sox-Orioles series had just a catastrophic night behind the plate, ejecting Kevin Gausman in the first inning over, I don't think anybody with common sense thinks that he was hitting Xander Bogaerts. So basically, it's a contrast in styles and officiating here. But we could agree that there are certain officials in certain sports that drive us nuts based on various reasons. So that's my question to you: is which sports officials drive you nuts the most? I mean, we already broke down our who has the worst fake tough guys, who has the worst officiating. Not worst officiating, but officiating that gets under your skin.
Yeah, I think we're going to stick with the major 4 sports too here. So
I mean, I don't know. I mean, also, I'm not. Yeah,
tennis. Who cares?
I don't know the difference between a red card and well, I know the difference on its surface, but I'm not sure which I'm pulling on. I'm reaching into my back pocket and.
I think hockey's the best by default, and I still don't think it's great. And they've kind of done some things to fix that or make it worse, or I don't know what they're doing. There's a lot of confusion in that sport in terms of how it's officiated, but I think the officials themselves aren't bad. Football officials just are inept, I think. So like, they don't bother me as much just because I accept that it's always like that game again. It's the same thing. It's always changing. Nobody knows what a catch is anymore. These guys are just inept. Like it is what it is. Like, and I'm sure it's much harder than it looks. Whatever, I got it. So for me, it comes down to once again baseball and basketball. And I think the worst officials are baseball umpires, because I think you talked about the ratio earlier of like tough guys to regular guys or whatever. You look at baseball, it's like the ratio of pompous dinks to normal guys. And like that's the thing, is like it's one thing to suck at your job, but it's another thing to be like Sam Holbrook and after the game say like stand by that call. Like, there's no humility, there's no accountability. Like it's just Joe West is like the worst official in all of sports just because he's a pompous jerk. Like,
and there are so many instances you can point to where it looks like they're trying to insert themselves into the story.
That too, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I think you get the sense that
which
that's
is
the
like
case.
We talked about earlier, like baseball, that bad blood. I kind of do like, to an extent, like I just like complaining about it more than anything.
Yeah,
like,
it gives us something.
When there's really bad umpiring, because it's it gives you something different out of a 162 game season. But it's fun to write about, like Joe West being a jerk. But it gets tiresome.
I think it's less in baseball. I agree with you. I think baseball it can be maddening, the umpiring, and it's just balls and strikes. It could be balls and strikes. It could also be just the whole. It's very theatrical in how they operate. And I think it's less defensible too, because baseball inherently moves at such a slower, less cluttered pace. Like if you miss a foul in the paint or something, because I think basketball officials can be atrocious at times too, and and they also find a way to kind of impact.
They're
the
petty
game.
As hell.
Yeah. But there are certain plays where it's like, I can understand if you got 10 bodies converging in one place, that it's difficult. Yeah. And I'm not saying...
With me, for like basketball, it's always after the whistle, then during play.
Right. Yeah, and so I'm not saying umpiring isn't difficult, but I'm just saying like things move, like I said, more methodically. And so I would think that it would be easier to kind of have the pulse of the situation. Like that instance with Gausman, you have a few seconds to take a step back and be like, all right, that was a curveball, as Gausman immediately pointed out. I don't think there was any intent there. And then there's just common sense. It wasn't like he had to right away, bam, make a decision because it was going to result in somebody shooting free throws or something. So I don't know. I just think you have more of an opportunity to figure out what the hell's going on in baseball. But,
I agree.
I don't know. Anything else irk you about this particular week?
No,
While we're
like I
on
said,
the topic of ranting about things.
It irks me, but I also think it's good for the sport in some ways, or good for these sports in some ways. It's theatrical. Like, we now more so than any point in our society, we want to be entertained.
Yeah.
And so we got that this week, it was a fun week.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you could be sleeping all weekend with your current medical condition.
We'll be all right.
But if you're looking for entertainment value, we got the most exciting 2 minutes in sports coming up on Saturday. I don't know about you. I'm a little jacked up for the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah, this is out of nowhere.
What?
I didn't know you were a big ponies guy.
I told you. I'm really not. But for whatever reason, I'm going all in on it this year. I'm gonna give it a chance.
That. Like, at some point, I want to be a horse guy.
Well, I was saying yesterday because I did a Kentucky Derby podcast yesterday, which made abundantly clear from the onset that I didn't know anything about horse racing. Like, I wasn't there to spew horse racing facts. I was more or less there to
guide the
conversation and present what I, as somebody who doesn't know a lick about horse racing, would want to know. You know what I mean? So it's hopefully somebody could pick up some information that I didn't know.
Sure.
Whatever. I was saying I really admire people that can find like a nice shtick like that. Like have something that people don't traditionally follow, and come with just an abundance of information. It's crazy.
Like, you talk to somebody.
You got to go to great lengths to obtain that.
Yeah, you talk to somebody who knows horses. It's pretty wild. Like the things that they know about like some random track in Western New York on like the Thursday afternoon. So and so is running the 1/8 furlong or whatever. It's like, I don't know if that made any sense.
Right. Exactly.
Debut of we try to talk about sports we don't know, but. Yeah, it is. It seems like a lot of work, so good for them.
Well, so if you want to check out the more of the minutiae of horse racing, you should certainly check out that podcast on the NESN YouTube page.
It's great.
But we're not going to go that deep into it. Just kind of like we did with the NFL draft. I mean, who the hell wants to hear us break down somebody's cone drill?
I certainly don't.
Or even 40 times. Nobody wants to hear that. But I think you mentioned horse racing as a sport. Just casually threw it out there. Is it though?
No, it's not.
Is horse racing? I mean, I understand for the
Is it a sport because it's on ESPN?
Exactly. So it's probably considered.
So sure,
considering it a sport, but should it be considered a sport?
No, I don't like it as a sport because it's so abbreviated, and you're dealing with species that aren't human. Like. So I guess
that's my issue.
Yeah. So what would you think about like the rodeo?
It's on it. No. No.
See, like, yeah, I think if you're
there's got to be a line.
I was gonna say the rodeo is a sport and horse racing isn't, but I think if you're gonna pick one, you kind of have to fall in line.
You got to commit. Yeah.
I still don't know because you're riding a horse for 2 minutes, and like, it's weird that like if the best people in this sport are like 4'8", 106 pounds, like.
I'd like to see a jockey combine.
Yeah, like that actually would be kind of interesting. That's a good idea.
How they
we should look
cut
into
weight.
That. Yeah. So no, I don't think it's a sport because again, like at least NASCAR, I do think NASCAR is a sport. I think F1, like auto racing, generally is a sport because I think there's an element of endurance involved.
Yeah.
Which is probably hypocritical for me to say like a sport that doesn't involve that involves a species that isn't a human is a sport, but a sport that involves cars.
No, I 100% agree with you.
But the endurance thing is the big thing for me.
It's first of all, the horse is the one doing the heavy lifting around it. I don't care how small a jockey is. The horse is the one running this race. But to go off your NASCAR point, without a driver, the car isn't moving. Without a jockey, the horse is still going to move. I'm not saying it's going to go where it should be going, and I'm not saying it's going to win the race, but you need a driver.
It's true.
I don't know. Do you need a jockey? I'm gonna start training horses. They're going to be the first jockeyless
that would be much
champion.
Better. Like we need or you can bring out like herding dogs and just have herding dogs chase.
Yeah.
These.
Is golf a sport?
Yeah, golf's a sport.
Yeah, golf's a sport.
It's a game.
It's a sport.
Most things with a ball, I'm apt to say it's a sport, or it's some object that you're hitting or throwing.
It's a sport.
What?
Ping pong.
Ping pong?
Ping pong's a variation of a sport.
I would say ping pong is a sport.
It's a game.
I would say ping pong is more of a sport than horse racing.
Ping pong, the way you play it, is a game. Ping pong at the Olympics, I think, is a sport. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Billiards?
No, that's an activity.
Yeah,
That's not an activity, but ping pong is a sport.
Because at least ping pong, you're moving laterally, whereas billiards or pool, you're just walking around a table. Like, it's like going to the buffet. Is that a sport? Because you're doing the same thing.
No, I think billiards is a game. I think all of those are games.
That's fair. I respect that consistency. That's for sure. I just
Short track speed skating is a sport.
I would just
definitely.
Horse racing, I would say, is a competition. I think there's a line you can draw between
and you can play
sports and competition.
And you can program on TV competition. Same thing with the hot dog eating contest.
The soapbox derby.
Right, yeah.
That's a competition.
What about poker?
You know what I mean?
Poker's not a sport.
No, poker is just it's a card game. It's not. It's a game. Yeah.
Which is I would love to hear the argument for that.
Yeah.
It takes
dump all over it.
It takes a hell of an amount of will and intelligence and whatever, but so does writing.
Sudoku.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna start annoying that a sport.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna the Mount Rushmore of words with friends.
Chess is not a sport. I think generally if you play it on a rainy day on vacation, it's not a sport.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Ping pong might fall into that, but whatever. Like I said,
but you can play sports on rainy days. It's one of these things where I'm going to phrase this. Like a sport can be a game. A sport can be a game. Sport can fall under one of those umbrellas, but those can't necessarily. A sport can be a game or a competition, like the rainy day scenario. Sport can be a thing you do on a rainy day, but the things you do on a rainy day aren't necessarily a sport.
Right. We'll have to revisit this off air.
I got a flow chart. I
think your heart rate needs to be at a certain level for it to be considered.
Yeah, I get a Venn diagram.
That's not a bad point. But what if you're standing over a golf shot? Part of that.
I don't think golf's a game.
But part of that is trying to control your heart rate. Are you saying cardio induced heart rate?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense. So then ping pong's a sport.
True.
I don't know. It's difficult.
It is difficult.
But
it's an endless conversation.
It really is. So we're going in circles. I think we can all agree that the Kentucky Derby, on the most part, is a good day to get liquored up.
Yeah, it's a good
day to drink. I'm trying to look back on I was in Chicago last year for a bachelor party, which made for a good Kentucky Derby day.
Oh, wow.
Over the history, I've had I've had to work some days, so I haven't gone to the full effect. I'm going all in this year.
Wow.
But so, what sporting event? What else is comparable in terms of what's a good drinking sporting event?
The Kentucky Derby is number one for me.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is not black out. You can figure out which horse won when you're 10 beers deep. That's something that you can look at and be oh, that horse won. All right.
Yeah.
As long as you have a good view, and you probably don't have a good view at the Kentucky Derby, so unless you're filthy ass rich. So that's up there. NASCAR, I've gone to a couple NASCAR races. I think that's a good drinking sport.
We probably should specify too. Are we talking about attending? Because the Kentucky Derby is pretty versatile. You don't even have to be there.
That's a good point. Because
that's
that's actually an important distinction. Because I was going to say drinking at NASCAR is better than drinking while watching NASCAR at home.
I mean, we just a couple weeks ago did our top nap sports, and NASCAR was on there. If you're not there,
and I kind of look at it if you go to a race, unless you have the headphones and everything, unless you're really, really into it, it's tough to follow that for hours on hours on hours.
Yeah.
As long as, again, you're not blacked out for the last 10 laps and you can kind of follow along. But even then, it's hard. There's cars and traffic. You're lapping people. So, that's my big thing. Is this a sport that I'm going to regret blacking out at or not remembering enough of the sport to feel like it was worth my while?
Yeah.
So it's tough. I honestly, I struggled with this one, trying to figure out.
Another one in kind of the same thing with the NASCAR line of logic is the Masters, for example. I've never been to a major golf event. I would be 100% honest with you, but I've heard it's a great time, great party atmosphere. But if I'm watching at my house, I might doze off for an hour or
Masters
two.
On Friday, I'll rip them off. I'll give me 6 to 8 beers. Yeah, right. Sunday at Augusta, I'll have 2 or 3 beers as I'm walking the course, but I want to pay attention to what's going on here, which is the way I am with a lot of sports. I'm trying to think of, I guess you can never go wrong with a regular baseball game. Like, whether you're there or in just the backyard with it on the radio. It's a great...
Flat out, I think it's the one that is versatile, either there or if you're watching it at home.
Yeah.
Boxing.
Oh,
Boxing.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah,
because not only you watch people beat the piss out of each other, which is pretty.
It's like how much do you have to focus on it too?
Exactly,
like you're just getting punched.
And also, it's longer than you get the 2-minute horse race set, like you said. It's just as long as you're there for the 2 minutes,
right?
Whatever. Yeah. Boxing requires a little more paying attention, but it moves very quickly because you get the rounds broken up. The bell rings. You kind of take a breather, I guess, for a second.
Yeah.
And also, if you're getting if you're half in the bag watching a boxing match, which generally is on late at night, so there's a good chance you could be if you're out for a nice evening of libations. You can all of a sudden you get very emotionally invested into the thing.
Yeah, definitely.
You start off with these two schmoes beating the hell out of each other, and by the end of it, you're rooting for the guy in the blue shorts with the gold trim, and you have no idea why. You just happen to like one of the,
it's
something
also,
about him.
It's also a sport that's better when you don't know what's going on. Almost. Like, the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight sucked just because there was so much, anticipation. But you go back to like old Friday night fights on ESPN2, when you just got two guys who weigh like 128 pounds just lighting each other up and just no real technique.
Yeah.
And you're doing that while drinking, that's a good night.
It's exciting.
Especially the other thing too, if you're live, more often than not you're at a casino. So like, or you're in Vegas and you're.
Well, that's the thing, yeah.
You started out early in the day, and if you're in Vegas for a fight, the fight starts at like 8 p.m. local time. So like the fight gets done at like 9:30. You get to go out again. Like it's a nice little day. So.
Yep. It's easy to pay attention to.
You got to take NESN around on the road for
that
the next.
That guy got knocked to the canvas.
Yeah.
It's there.
You don't really need It doesn't take a scientist to follow the sweet science.
Maybe it's no wonder that it's like the most corrupt sport on mankind. All right, so we touched on some of these things. What about a sporting event you'd most like to attend outside the four major sports?
This is the easiest.
Sober drunk, hopped up on Molly like Wes Welker.
Yeah.
I don't care what condition you're in. What'd you like to go to?
It's the Masters. It's 100% the Masters. Maybe a U.S. Open, a major golf tournament with like all accommodations where I'm up close and get to actually follow it and really sink my teeth into it. Or if I'm just sitting on 18 at like, I went to what the hell was it? What's it called? I don't know what the name is. The TPC Boston event. That's it's in the PGA Tour playoffs now. And they had like bleachers. They got like a hospitality tent set up on the 18th, something like that. At a big golf tournament would be awesome. Just kind of put your feet up all day. So the Masters, though, I think is the top one for me. We should go non-Big Four sporting events, is what we said.
Yeah.
So Daytona, I would like to go to Daytona.
Daytona would be good, yeah. I went to the Pepsi 400.
That's awesome.
Back in the day in Daytona.
That sounds awesome.
Blast, yeah. I'm gonna go with, and I've been to one before. I'd like to go to another WrestleMania. I went to the one that was at the Fleet Center.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
But the pageantry that comes with this whole thing now, I think that'd be a nice little spectacle to go to.
Yeah.
Also, I wouldn't mind going to the World Cup.
No, that would be awesome.
It depends on the location.
That's actually
what I got going on that week. But I'm trying to be more open-minded.
Anything that involves America and like rooting for.
Yeah,
that's awesome. A Team USA game at the World Cup would be awesome. Yeah. That would be really cool. Again, like it's within the major four sports. I'd love to go see
World Baseball Classic. Producer Andre Cacciatore.
Yeah, that's true. There. Like a gold medal hockey game between U.S. and Canada would be awesome. Like again, that's within the four sports, but something where there's a little bit of patriotism involved too is like. Then, because that's the thing, like you and I, we work in this industry, and it kind of kills a lot of it for you. Not to get like too much of a downer, but like I don't root for my teams the same way I used to, except for like the Packers, because I don't live around Packers fans. I don't have to cover the Packers, so it kind of keeps it fresh for me. So it's nice when you get to have that experience again, where you're like, oh, that's right, this is why I kind of fell in love with sports. You really get to just enjoy cheering on things with other people, so that's nothing brings people together like the country. So.
I agree. But all right, so let me beat that to death. I want to circle back to the Derby real quick before we go on our way. We did the rapid fire last week with the NFL draft. I want to do something with these Derby names.
They're not good this year.
They suck, don't they? I thought I was the only one. I was looking at the list, and I'm like, I'm not really. because generally when I pick my horse, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not a horse racing guru by any stretch of the imagination. So I look at the name and I look at the odds, obviously.
Yep.
And then find a good balance between the two, and bam, that's the pick. It was tough this year. The names kind of suck.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you like any of them?
Irish War Cry, I think is kind of cool.
It's cool.
But I don't. Again, I'm going into this saying I'm the same way.
I think the coolest story, obviously, is the one-eyed
horse.
horse.
Patch is that's a cool name. That is a cool
Patch,
name. But
it's amazing.
It came after, right?
Yeah. Well, this is what I learned because I had no idea. As I'm sure a lot of people just finding out about our boy Patch. So he's got one eye.
One eye.
He's going to be starting on the farthest.
It could be a disaster.
It was a tough draw.
Yeah.
Tough draw for him in the old.
He's not going to be able to see
positioning. He's not going to see anything.
He's on the outside.
Blind in his left eye.
He's blind in his left eye,
and he's all the way on the outside. So he's literally not going to be able to see anybody to start the race. Which I'm a little concerned for the guy, to be honest with you. I think this could go haywire real quick. He could end up in the 10th row. He could just barrel his way and knock over other horses like they're bowling pins. I mean, I really don't want to see, in all seriousness, I don't want to see a horse get put down. That's the one thing that can put a damper on your Kentucky Derby
I would
day.
say so.
You start off, you're having some drinks, and everybody's got their big hat, and this is a great time. And I do not want to see a horse be put down on the track, because that'll ruin my weekend.
We don't need dead horses.
We don't need that. So Patch, I love the story there. He's I think he's 33 to 1, or 30 to 1 or something. So good. If you're looking for somebody to root for that guy. Names though, it's just I'm gonna say McCracken.
McCracken's a good one too.
I just think back to Quentin McCracken, the old Tampa Bay Devil Ray great. So
He's on the Diamondbacks.
I thought it was Tampa Bay.
Nope.
All right. I knew it was an expansion team that came in around that time. I guess that's the only one that really stands out though. They're boring. So, but I look back. I know you look back.
You played for Tampa and Arizona, you dink.
See, don't
You
question.
were both right.
Don't question my Quentin McCracken knowledge. All right.
Sorry, didn't mean to cut you
He
off.
has 2 stints with Arizona.
All right, cool. Shut up.
Anyways, everybody can feel free to baseball reference Quentin McCracken on your own time if you want to. I don't know, see his career war. Favorite all-time winner name. I was looking back over the winners. It's the 143rd running of the Run for the Roses, as they like to call it down in Louisville, Kentucky. And some of the names have been better than others. I don't know. You like any of them?
Fusayachi Pegasus.
That's good.
I like that one. One in 2000.
Big Brown.
Big Brown. There's some good ones.
It's just very authoritative. 2008. Big Brown.
I also liked Funny Side for some reason. I liked how it was spelled. Smarty Jones. It was always a big one.
Spend a Buck.
Spend a Buck's a good one.
I know, 1985. Remember like it was yesterday.
Seattle Slew's good, and the horse was good, so I like that. I like a little alliteration.
George Smith back in 1916.
George.
There's always something psychotic about naming your pet or your horse. In this case, just a regular old name. So I don't know the science behind it, but
Mr. Ed
looks good to me. I Wikipedia the names and I just saw George Smith stood out to me. Swaps.
Swaps.
Swaps. Reminds me of Scoops. Got a good friend named Scoops. I like to call her Scoops. Beautiful woman, great person. So that reminds me of her a little bit. Dust Commander. Dust Commander is a good one. Bubbling over.
Jeez.
I got really
through them now. There's some good. Burgoo King.
There's also plenty that suck though too.
Yeah, a lot of them suck. Worth the hell out of here. Regret.
Yeah, who wants that? Foolish Pleasure. I believe was another one I had written down.
Needles, Swaps, Iron Liege.
But if you guys want to,
Tim Tam.
If you know how the internet works, you can Google that, Wikipedia.
Yeah, I'm not gonna read them all.
We don't have a horse in this race, unfortunately. Maybe next year we can have a NESN Around sponsored horse. I mean, I'm a pretty small guy. Maybe I can cut some weight and become a jockey.
Now we're talking.
And then that'll be my ticket out of here.
I'll train. You be the jockey.
Oh, you're trained to be Nicky Golfers.
I'm gonna be a MMA fighter / jockey / NESN Around host. I don't know. We'll play it by ear. But what we got to figure out if we do have this NESN Around horse is what are we gonna name it?
Yeah, this was tougher than I thought. For my horse, I would name it. I'd go with Family Matters.
I like it
because I liked that show. Urkel, I love that theme song, and Family Matters. I think it's if you have a good horse named Family Matters and you say that it's like based on your family as well, You'll have a great Sunday or Saturday afternoon story. You'll be front and center. So I don't know. This was harder than I thought. So
yeah, this is like one of those things that you're just,
Boy Meets World actually would be a better one. That would be a good.
You're screwing around on the internet. And it's like, hey, plug in your
I didn't do that.
Your information, the horse name generator.
Right.
Next thing you know, it's like your middle name and the name of the
street you
elementary school. Yeah, your street you grew up on.
Third grade teacher's name.
On the topic of TV shows, I was thinking, what Hey Arnold?
Hey Arnold's a good one too.
Hey being
hey,
Hay. Well, Hey Rod, as we were talking about him earlier. I also thought of H-Stacks. The old haystacks. And I thought, what about consensual horseplay? Timothy Cap to Randy Moss, but that could come with. I
think that's too long. To be honest with you, I looked it up. It has to be 18 characters or less.
Is that's legitimate?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'd have to look, but that could be a public relations nightmare. So I don't know if we'd want to.
Yeah, I would say so.
It'd put us on the map at least.
That's true.
I don't know. It's an interesting exercise, though.
I agree.
If you're small-minded individuals like we are. But all right. Any other thoughts on the Kentucky Derby?
Nope.
Which would be an interesting day at the track.
Probably gonna be.
Not gonna go to Suffolk Downs.
Nope.
Hang out.
No. It's one of those ones where if I'm lucky enough to flip through Saturday afternoon, I'll watch it. Otherwise, I really don't care.
Yeah. Well, this is another one that I feel like we're bringing back a lot of things that we said for the best sporting events that nap do. Because if you really wanted to, you can nap all day. Just watch the horses. Just walking up, but there is a bunch of other horses coming up that'll be, if you want to fly down to Kentucky. I was told all this on the podcast. I don't want to plug the podcast all day, but it was an enlightening, eye-opening experience for me, as you can see. All right, we doing show and tell this week? We skipped it last week.
I'm good.
You got one?
Yeah.
You got some? All right, what do you got for us?
Hold on a second.
We screwed up last week.
We didn't
do our homework, basically.
This technically is a horse. But we're gonna, for the purpose of this exercise,
is that consensual horseplay?
Yeah, we're gonna call this a
Family
donkey.
Matters.
Yeah, this is a donkey or a jackass, if you will.
Oh,
it's gonna represent my guy LeVar Ball. The big baller brand, whatever the hell they released those shoes.
Yep.
And the guy had the balls to say, no pun intended. If you can't afford our shoes, you're not a big baller. The shoes are like what, $700?
$495.
Yeah, well, this is the thing though. Like, I wear a size 14. If you wear a size 14 or 15, it's like $200 more.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Well, this also
and like flip flops are like $250.
Because I was gonna use this. Spoiler alert! I was gonna use this as my prediction of the week, and maybe I'll just get that out of the way now.
Sure, if you want.
Because it ties in nicely with your. Well, I don't know what you're gonna say about it, but I was gonna say the price is gonna drop. But on the topic of the price, did you know that the autograph version, which goes for $995? is also jacked up if you have a 14 or 15. So, but my question is, as a buyer, why does the size matter if you're buying the autograph version? You're not strapping them up, right? You're not heading down Rucker Park with these things on.
You might be.
Like, check out my Lonzo Ball, John Hancock.
Well, no.
I would think they're going in a case, in which case the sizes are.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're an idiot if you buy a 14 or 15.
Yeah,
unless you're going to wear it, and then you're an idiot for wearing it too.
Yeah. I don't know, but no. What were you going to say? I'm sorry.
Like I said, I think the guy's just a jackass. Like, maybe there is like a smart, savvy business technique to this that I'm not realizing. Where any press is good press, but this guy has just made his kid so unlikable. It's not even the kid's fault, but it's just I'm over it. I'm so sick of it.
The explanation.
Keep talking about it. So
was it's more about the lifestyle or what the shoe stands for, which is just complete marketing.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Jibber jabber.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a weird thing. It's all Plus, I love the fact that the kid hasn't played in the NBA.
Right.
Somebody tweeted out that you could go and get a pair of Jordans, LeBrons, and a pair of Durant sneakers, LeBron sneakers, and Curry sneakers. All three pairs, and it wouldn't even cost as much as getting the Lonzo Ball.
Unbelievable. Stupid. Yeah.
Weird. What did I bring for show and tell? Oh, I got a game, very underrated game too. It's nice. It's good to keep it. If you're ever a bartender, if you get into the bartending field or work at a bar, I don't know what your life aspirations are. Keep this behind there because it's a good game to pull out randomly. Okay. It's Shut the Box. Shut the Box, very underrated game. Why I brought this was it seems like Pete Carroll out in Seattle was trying to shut the box on the old Richard Sherman trade rumors. saying there's like a 0% chance they're going to trade Richard Sherman. Obviously, the offseason there's been several trade rumors involving him, and I'm not really buying it. I mean, I think he's still going to get traded, and I just think it's an odd thing to see the general manager, John Schneider, acknowledge that there were trade talks involving Sherman, basically confirming that as recently as, a day before the draft, I believe, or days leading up to the draft. And now you got Pete Carroll coming out and saying there's like a 0% chance that he's traded. Now, I'm not saying there's like some sort of disconnect there in Seattle or if that's going to evolve into a big thing. I just think this is a classic case of Pete Carroll just trying to put out a fire. And I think that you still might see him traded.
They also drafted 4 corners, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So
it's one of these things where it's nice, thanks Pete, but not really buying it.
Right, sure. Shut the box.
Shut the box, yeah. I'm not even going to explain it. Just Google it, or ask Jeeves, whatever search engine you want. Bing it.
Bing.
But yeah, it's a nice little game. Got to throw some money on it. Maybe we'll play. Maybe we'll play on one of these episodes.
I like that.
What do you got for a prediction? I already gave mine. So
another Matt will get hurt. Another big name Matt. I don't know who. Do they even have any left? But it's just what a clown show that organization is. Yoenis Cespedes hurts his hamstring, tries to play through it, aggravates it even more. Now he's on the DL. They try to get Noah Syndergaard to go get an MRI after he's dealing with arm issues, scratch from his start. He refuses to go get it. Terry Collins says, I can't force him into the tube. Then he makes his start a couple days later, gets shelled. Like he hasn't gotten shelled all year. Now he's on the DL. The Mets are terrible when it comes to handling injuries, so I think we'll see another one in the next week. A big one. They're done. I think if they get one more big injury, probably that starting rotation.
Yep. All right. Not we're not wishing injury upon anybody. No, certainly. But
it was like the only I just thought of it. So
yeah. Well, I think you're onto something there. All right. Well, we're gonna get the hell out of here.
Hit the dusty trail.
We're gonna go load you. We're gonna hook you up to an IV, get you some vitamin C, so you're in tip-top shape this weekend.
Gotta get
really mustering through.
Get that julep.
Yeah. We'll put sprinkle a little extra vitamin C into your mint julep tomorrow. But all right. Thanks everybody for joining us on another edition of the soon-to-be award-winning NESN podcast, NESN Around. Everybody have a great weekend. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Assuming this gets up in time. You never know what we got going on. These cast of characters behind the scenes.
Playing games and activities
out
there.
But everybody enjoy. Be careful. And see you when we see you.